would have got there. We're obviously here at RGB Collectibles in our new studio. We've been very busy the last few weeks, but never too busy to bring in my co-host. Some call him AJ2, some call him Jankosaurus, some call him Weird Al Jankovic. How are you, my friend?
I am just fantastic, as well as someone can be after their team gets thrashed the night before.
Well, we'll talk about the football very shortly, so let's just check if we've got some sound here.
It looks like we've got sound.
Oh, we've got sound. Beautiful. G'day, Mason. How are you, mate?
Hey, Mason. Welcome on board.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us. Obviously, yes, the football was not so pleasant for Adam last night, as we would have seen from the post on our page. But when you're going against the back-to-back world champs that are right in the middle of the dynasty, these things happen. G'day, Pete. G'day, Mitch.
G'day, Mitch. G'day, Jacob. Jacob, would you believe that just above my right shoulder, above this shoulder, just up over here,
yep,
off camera, you can't see it. We've got another 32-inch monitor up there with the footy. Oh, there you go. There you go, Jacob. That was just for you.
Yeah, so we've got the footy on. G'day, Kano. How are you?
On in the studio at the moment.
Well, I'm still friends, Kane, with Jenks, but that happens when you're a part of the winning team. I know. Well, honestly, Stephen, when we looked at the schedule, we kind of thought you guys would have just put Collingwood away by this stage. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, good to see you too, Mitch. Thank you for coming in yesterday. Look, obviously, it's been a huge couple of weeks since we've been here. We've been having new releases. We've been crazy at the shop. It's busy at RGB breaks. It just seems to be busy for us at the moment, but hey, this is what started it all, and we love doing it.
Absolutely. It's a little bit longer between our last episode and this one of Card Authority.
Between drinks.
Yeah. We obviously got a couple of mini episodes up, which was cool, but
settle Griblar and block you.
Hopefully we won't be this long between the next one. Just as you said, it's been absolutely crazy. A multitude of different releases have come out. It's all been going on, and looking forward to dissecting it all tonight and having a good conversation with everyone to see what people want to talk about as well.
Absolutely. G'day, Squid, Lucas. How are you guys? Yeah, look, obviously, I know we are going well. The football's going, but don't it'll be quarter time soon, and then you guys can all just focus on us. So, look, obviously, it's been really busy. Last time we spoke, well, we've done a couple of little mini podcasts, or mini casts, should we say, from out in the other room. Footy Stars, Team Coach, Heritage. We'll talk about what's coming next soon. But how do you think everything's gone over the last month for the community?
So it's all been a little bit of a whirlwind. Obviously, you and I have had a few chats about this, and different people who have come past and visit us in the store or in the studio. We've had a lot of different conversations with people, and I think the first thing is, let's start off by saying there's effectively been 3 releases. It's mid-April.
Yeah.
This is like, this first 3 months, that January through to March period, is like the quietest time for AFL cards, especially under normal circumstances, and feels like it's just been huge already, and it's setting the tone for a massive year. And I think, where we had Brilliance come out in the back end of last year unexpectedly, which just kept the momentum of AFL cards going, and then bang, 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 these releases. Obviously Footy Stars, there was a lot of anticipation, but I think Team Coach really came out, out of left field there for a lot of people, and that's given another win to AFL cards. And then you've got the whole Heritage thing that's happened. So it's been massive so far. Like, it feels like the first 3 months has been as big as what a previous year could have been like. It's crazy. So to think what's coming and what's ahead is just it's gonna be huge. Yeah,
crazy. And that's right. We talked a little bit that sort of Footy Stars and Team Coach were pretty much already out.
Yeah.
By the time the season had started.
Yeah.
And look, let's wind back a little bit to that. So obviously Footy Stars, first of all, we'll touch on it. There was an incredible amount of hype. Select would be thrilled that it sold out as quickly as it did. I mean, you can still buy some loose boxes and things like that.
Yeah.
But the reaction and the response over those first few days was phenomenal. It seemed like everyone was gobbling it up as quick as they could.
Yeah.
Would it have been? Do you think it's been a successful release?
I think it's been obviously a hugely successful release. probably the thing that comes to mind for me with respect to what's happened with Footy Stars this year is just like fast and furious. Like it is what springs to mind immediately. It was just fast and it was furious, and people went hard early, and sets were completed, chases were completed within days, maybe weeks, as opposed to months as what it would normally be. Traditionally, Series 1 was a product that you'd continue to just pick up throughout the year, whether you did it as singles or as packets or boxes, whatever it is. So I think the release just went crazy, obviously. We obviously did a bit of forecasting on it. It sold very quickly in the particular formats that we had sort of anticipated would, with respect to cases and then also starter packs. And as you said, now there's obviously just loose boxes available, and the product is scattered throughout Australia in some places. I've certainly found it very difficult at retail to find it. There's not many places that seem to actually have any stock left. Everyone was slammed, and it seems like the feedback in terms of like my local news agencies and servos, and I try and sort of ask the guys behind the counter, questions without probing too much. And the general consensus is like the stuff gets delivered to them and they get smashed, and it's that they don't understand it. Like the clerks, the counter clerks at the servos, that they're just like, it's really strange. This stuff came, and as soon as we opened it was on the counter, someone came in and just bought it all, sort of thing. And that's the recurring theme. So I really don't think there's much product actually still out there.
So, and look, obviously it was well talked about that there was a split in the shipment, that they delivered somewhere between a half and 2/3, I imagine, in the first run. And then that remaining part has already been distributed now to mass market and newsagents, things like that. But I've been asking the same thing. I've been speaking to newsagents, and the general feeling is that they can't get enough of it. They want more of it. But can't also work out why it's in such high demand.
That's right.
Very similar to what you said. And I wonder whether or not that's a product of not only an evolving market that we've all been seeing develop over the last 12 months, but there was so much hype and demand. People were just so hungry to get themselves into new cards. So you put that aside for 1 second, and then Selective actually delivered a pretty, or not even pretty good, a bloody good Series 1 release. There was a holo in every pack. The inserts were a better quality.
The volume of numbered cards, or all the predictors and everything. It's a
bit of a perfect storm.
It's sort of unprecedented for a Series 1 product. But what's really interesting is that I think a lot of people, and probably including ourselves at certain points, overlook how loaded the product is, because our expectations have become so high off all the previous releases over 2019 and 2020. It's... sometimes we just need to take a step back and realize this is still a $3 a packet Series 1 product. The chase is well and truly alive for all the big hits. Outside of the marquees, you've got the Brownlows, the Colemans, and the Premierships, which are all live in-season hits. So those cards will continue to fluctuate, and demand will fluctuate as the season progresses, and based on the hype of teams' performances on a week-by-week basis.
Well, you bring up a really good point there. I feel like, and I guess I talk a little bit from a breaker's perspective, later in the year, that Footy Star stock is going to have an absolute premium attached to it. Because last year, there were plenty of people breaking certified 16, 17, all these other Series 2 products from previous years. They're not really around in the same quantities they were. So come July, August, September, when you're looking for product to mix in with Series 2 and whatever it might be, you're going to have this product with 3 predictors in it.
Well, that's super live, and it's a cheap breakable product as well. So it can be broken really cost effectively. And with multiple live hits. It's not like, okay, so if you manage to get your hands on some 2017 champions or Footy Stars, whatever it was, the Footy Stars then, which has the Dusty Brownlow predictor, that's your only chase card right now. So if that product's going into a break, or someone's opening a box or whatever it is, they're only chasing that card. Whereas this series will effectively have 3 live hits at all times, like predictor hits at all times. So it's actually going to have some really good added value. And again, like you talk about, if the Tigers get up, or if Dusty wins the Brownlow or something, the value of those hits, the value of those hits is going to be quite extraordinary. So, and
even the common, there's going to be multiple teams that are actually going to be drawing. Whereas last year all looking for Lockie Neal.
Yeah.
But I mean, literally, there could be 3 different teams or flavors that are in full contention come
that's
July,
right.
August.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's why I always thought adding the Coleman in this year. Well, firstly, last year by adding the Premiership predictor was a really smart move, but then putting in a third, like the Coleman predictor and that third type of predictor, really, it's a significant gain for the product in terms of a value add. So that's
absolutely.
I think that's really good. And I know we've previously discussed that at length. So I think that's a.
So then, Footy Stars did a very good job. Then obviously Team Coach kind of came out of nowhere, and obviously I was incredibly, I wouldn't say critical on it, but I certainly was very hesitant. And I think that they have done great things for certainly accessing certain parts of the community and getting engagement from some of their product.
Yeah.
Obviously the Gold Craft card was well talked about and super popular. I mean, I still have my hesitation on the long-term collectability of the other aspects of it.
Yeah.
But they certainly, I've bought a Dusty card, which probably 12 months ago you would have laughed at me if I said I was going to do that.
Yeah.
Or I would have laughed at myself.
Yeah, you would have laughed at yourself, yeah.
So I think that's done some good things with some crossover for people that perhaps only ever bought Team Coach.
Yeah.
And now going to be looking and more hungry for other products that Select are going to deliver because they've increased or they've done a little bit better than what they've done in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The Team Coach thing has been really interesting. It's very much come out of left field, as we said before. Team Coach was a very collectible product back in early days. In that 2000 to 2010 sort of era, it was very collectible. They changed the way they targeted the product and how they put the product together. They became a very, very largely consumed product by the mass market.
Yep.
And then they did a few things this time around to make it a bit more collectible, which again is probably a very smart move. Just like Select has been doing, they acknowledge that the market's really hot at the moment in a collectibles sense and from an investment side and a speculative side. So both companies have, really come to the fore and made upgrades to their product to accommodate what the market requires and what the market needs to keep growing and to keep being fueled, so to speak. And ultimately, the people, the sentiment and the expenditure and the collectors base of what people are doing is the determining factor that both companies and both products have seen great success in the early parts of this year already. And it's a credit to the market and a credit to the people, but also a credit to them for delivering collectible products or things that people want to acquire.
So based on what you said there, people want to acquire it, they're hungry for it, everyone's got an appetite, whether it's Select or whether it's Team Coach. In my opinion, it feels like it was like steroids. Everyone was turbocharged, everyone was consuming. But does that have the reverse as well, that it drops off and you hit this, crash is a bad word, but is there a huge dive because everyone just has to take a breath?
Well, I think at the moment things are spaced out enough, and this has been a cheap product as well. So the discretionary spend in terms of the proportion of money people are spending is not as significant as what it may seem because of the amount of cards you're seeing on the market. There's a lot of cards on the market, but not as much money has been thrown out there to make that happen.
So people's exposure is not as bad.
The exposure is not as significant. It's more than what it would be ordinarily in the year before or the year before or the year before. But that's just the nature of a much more matured market and a much more expanded and bigger market, and people have a bigger appetite to spend. I think as long as things are spaced out correctly, that's the first one aspect of it. But the other one is, what are the products that are coming and what's in them? If the perception is that they're collectible and people want them and they have value to them, well, that will continue to keep the momentum going ultimately. And I think our expectation would be that, again, we've just gone through $3 a packet product and it feels like we've just gone through a massive hobby release or a double hobby release. So the fact that the hobby releases are now coming up for the remainder of the year is probably an indicator it's going to be huge. Like, I don't know, I've been saying it for a while. I'd be very surprised if there's any form of significant downturn. I always say there's always going to be those little corrections here and there, and there's little waves and things move almost on a weekly basis. But ultimately, if we take a measurement of right now and a measurement in mid-December, I think the marketplace for trading cards and AFL cards will be bigger in December 2021 than it is right as of today.
Yep.
And that'll be represented by more people, higher card values, and harder to find cards.
Absolutely.
Less depth in the market.
It's funny, and even though more product is getting bought and consumed quicker, it feels like that product is being spread out more. And we talked, maybe it was on a previous show or sometime in the past, I can't remember. We've noticed through eBay sales through our own accounts, these are names that we don't recognize.
Yeah.
Whereas last year, you would recognize 50% of the names that the sales will be through. There are some days that we'll have, a dozen, 2 dozen sales. I've never seen any of those names from our
we discussed
Facebook.
about 95% of all our sales on our eBay store and web store since the release of Footy Stars. So that carries through Stars and Team Coach.
Yep.
Then 95% we don't recognize, and they're first-time buyers.
Yep.
And they're not from the Facebook community, and they're not from the Oz Card Trader community and the tight-knit hobby community. So again, several hundred people that are on the Good Vibes page, the few thousand people that might be on Oz Card Trader, all that sort of stuff.
Good point there, Pete. Yeah, heaps of new eBay sales as well.
And that's the thing. Again, that's representative, Pete. There's just so many people out there. So, we talk about, and we've talked about on other episodes, that we try and judge the market by using little things in terms of the community. We look at what takes place in terms of interactions. When we're running a poll and saying, well, who's getting it or who got it or who did it, we look at that and we take that as a sample size of the much broader community. So if we're looking at the Facebook page, Good Vibes, I think has about 700 odd members or something. Yep. And we can say that only actually accounts for maybe about 5% of the broader market of people who are interested in the cards.
Yep.
So there's well over 10,000 people out there competing for purchasing.
Good point there, Asher. That's right. Not every collector is on Facebook. My dad wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Spot on. I think that's a good snapshot. And, we had a customer that came in today at RGB Collectibles that hadn't looked at cards for 20 years.
Yeah.
Went and bought a couple of packs at the servo and was, loved it.
Loved it. Did a Google search and turned up here and bought a box and a folder.
Yeah. Just want to get
involved.
involved.
And then the next day their mates came back.
Yep.
We've had a couple of tradies, including one that came back today for the third time. You might even be watching now tonight. But this is the nature of it. There's two things going on here. One is what many of us have found. We got a card, we picked up a card, a packet, whatever it was, after many years of not doing it, since we were much younger. We got excited and we started to get back into it. But also now there's a lot of coverage. There's a lot of media. It's hard to escape all the sponsored pages on Facebook, no matter who you are.
Yep.
So people are inquisitive about it. They go and dip their toe in and they love it.
Yep.
And they love all aspects of it.
I think, Paul's got a good comment there. I'm still amazed how many people ask me that I've never come across. I think we're finding too that there's cross-pollination of different communities. Like obviously Mitch came into the store the other day. He does some stuff with coins.
Yeah.
There's people that are in NBA, or they might be in cricket, or they might be in Pokemon, or comics.
Yeah.
They're starting to get this cross shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sneakers.
It's a cross-pollination.
That's right.
And even I was having dinner with a few mates the other night, and they were like, there seems to be this trend of poker players. Yeah. Poker players go to crypto, they go to cards, they go to Top Shot, they do all these things. And they all seem to find these.
That's right. Well, it's a lot of people also looking for the next big thing as well. They're speculating. So you've got the collector's aspect, but we do have a lot of people at the moment looking for the next thing. And I really like this side of it, because I think part of the challenge, or not even the challenge, but part of our responsibility as people involved in the scene, is to try and take those people and also convert them into collectors. And I think it's happening a lot. I think you get a lot of people who are coming in to have a bit of fun and entertainment. They jump into some breaks and have a bit of enjoyment. They're not into cards yet, or they come and engage in some way. At first, they're just there for the entertainment. But then all of a sudden, they get the cards. Yep. And they like it. So then they want one that's from a player that they love or a team they love. Yep. So they go and try and do a trade with someone. They engage with a member of the community. They feel the sense of community, and then they want to participate. They want to be part of it. And I think the amount of people we know, we've lost count of the amount of people we know from our personal life or from other areas of our life who somehow have coming across cards, whether it's through us or not through us, and then just getting full on into it. Like,
absolutely.
Like almost on a weekly basis, there is a new person that we know, that each of us know, that's getting into it. Yep. So if that's what we know, then what about everyone else? It would be the same for so many other people. So there's lots coming in, on a daily basis at the moment. And it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's a good comment. So, a good point you're making. That ties in a little bit what Ash just wrote there. It's a bit big, Ash, so I won't put it on screen. But with these new people coming in that might come in, whether they are speculative, they might be flippers, whatever, is it kind of a responsibility of the community to not educate them, but show them
guide them,
and show them the good sides of collecting. We've got a friend who we won't mention, Oren, who early on really loved the entertainment of breaks, loved the community side of things, and was never really a collector. But over a few months, and us saying you'll probably become a collector, is now a collector.
And has a targeted collection.
That's right. Has identified what he wants.
That's it. And the irony of it is that is so representative of so many people. And I'm sure Oren won't mind us talking about this. And we obviously like to talk about a lot of people in the community because we can relate to those stories. But exactly that. Oren came in on the break side. Oren's a personal friend of ours. A lot of people know that we all have friendly poker games and things like that.
We have a bit of fun with him on our breaks and stuff like that.
That's right. And Oren came in during COVID, like so many others, to have a bit of fun in some breaks. For one, some entertainment, but two, chasing the hit to try and turn it over and put a win on the board. And early on, did exactly that. Got in a bunch of breaks, got in a bunch of randoms, hit things, turned them over. On so many occasions, I told him, you're going to regret at some point. Don't flip this card. Don't get rid of this card. It's Essendon. You want it. No, I don't want it. I'm not interested. I only want this one James Herc. I'm not interested. And slowly but surely over time, it's the whole broad aspect. It's not just about the card. It's the chase, the acquisition, the process you go through, the conversation, the friends you make, the social engagement. It's everything. It's all aspects of it. And that is such a great example of what I would call one of the new breed that's coming through, where they're coming through for entertainment or they're coming through for a punt or whatever it is. But they are falling back in love with collecting and with cards. So,
And look, Gribbler, I won't put your comment on screen, but I think that's a good point, that if you've got friends coming in, you've got to let them understand and discover things for themselves. But direct them to the good communities, direct them to the pages that you actually engage in on yourself. Of course, there's some trial and error and you've got to discover some things. I want to try to get this as positive as possible. But, it's not a responsibility, but let's guide these people.
Absolutely.
I know I get plenty of people asking me about it as you do.
Yeah.
So let's all wear it as a badge of honor as part of this community, that we're going to try to make it as enjoyable and as palatable and educate people.
Absolutely.
Help them have good experiences. So look, I think it's a really good thing as this continues to grow.
The nostalgia.
Kano, that's a good comment. Kane from Box Break TV. And I must say, Kane is certainly one of those people that's built himself a really nice community over there at Box Break TV. It's doing really good things. So make sure you check it out. But,
and the nostalgia is exactly right there, Kane, because
it scratches an itch.
Well, that's right. You couple the nostalgia with being, in most cases, an adult with some sort of disposable income, and all of a sudden it gives you the memories of when you were younger. But the difference is, when you were younger, you saved up a month of pocket money to be able to buy one packet of footy cards or one packet of basketball cards or that Shaquille O'Neal card or whatever it may have been. Whereas, and you always looked, and you'd be in the shop or at the market stall and you'd see those incredible cards with those, several $100 price tags or several $1,000 price tag, whatever it was. And those were the holy grail. Those were something that you knew as a kid was completely unattainable. Now you skip through life and you go through parts of life and you, whatever it may be, you go to school or you go to uni, you have a job, but all these sorts of things, you have a family, different things. And collecting and cards is not even on the radar. It's something you completely forget about. But then all of a sudden something happens that triggers you to engage with cards in some way, shape or form, whether it's looking for your child, grabbing a pack at Sev's when you're picking up a meat pie, whatever it is, and that feeling of nostalgia, then all of a sudden couples with the fact that I'm grown. And if I want something, I could get it.
Yep.
Do those things still exist that are in my mind from 20 or 30 years ago?
Yep.
I'll go online and I'll go on Google and I'll go on eBay. Wow, there's a signature card for Scott Pendlebury, or there's a Nathan Buckley SIG that I always wanted when I was a kid. Scratch the itch and you're off and going.
Yep.
You're off and going.
And look, Pete's made a good comment. His brother's an NBA and soccer collector, but due to price, he's sort of switched over to AFL. And Mario as well here, my current boss knew nothing about cards before I started with his company. Now he's making more money flipping cards than what his rental properties return percentage-wise. And I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yep.
Obviously, he sounds like a pretty smart fella, and you've obviously given him a fair bit of advice, Mario, but wouldn't recommend everyone doing that. But no, absolutely. Yeah, Kano, that's right. As adults now, we can just, buy things. That's right.
Yeah. And here's the thing, the tyranny of distance is no longer an issue due to the internet. Okay?
Yep.
I don't get me wrong. I am loving the old school style trading that we're doing out of the store at the moment. People coming in, bringing folders, count boxes. We're just doing trade outs. People are filling their sets. I'm loving it. It's awesome. But at the end of the day, the interconnectivity of the web and of social media allows us all to engage from a huge geographical distance from each other and still be able to do buys, sell, trades, converse, and whatever else it is. So that is, again, another really significant factor of how the industry and the hobby continues to propagate further.
And change too.
And change, yeah.
And Kelly, don't worry. You're a Tigers collector. We all understand about not having any disposable income after cards.
Yeah.
All right. So look, obviously it's been a great month. All right. And we'll talk about heritage in a second, but it was announced today, and Robert, I haven't ignored your comment. We will talk about the Collector Club a little bit later. But in the Collector Club press release, they announced, the first time kind of officially,
they said Prestige.
Prestige is coming.
So whether it was a typing error or not, they've said it now. So
So knowing Prestige is coming, all right, and
we're excited.
Yeah, but I love Prestige. Prestige was the first, when I came back into this, the first one that I started buying cases for. Yeah. I ripped them, me and Minxie used to rip them on my kitchen table.
Yeah.
I love that release. There is going to be a ridiculous amount of excitement over the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is till it comes. I'm guessing Select will do some previews again. They'll probably get Lynn Gilmartin out again. Are we going to fall into the similar trap that we have with Footy Stars, that it's just going to be everyone wanting to burst, and it's just going to be turbocharged?
I think so. I think that is this status quo now.
Okay.
I said to you earlier, so we were discussing earlier, just before we started the stream, and literally about 8 o'clock, we were just discussing, what's the plan tonight, sort of thing. Yeah. We literally don't have a run sheet or anything like that going on in front of us. I'm looking at AJ across from me. Looks like we're in two different locations, where it's not. The wall behind me is black, the wall behind him is white, but it's soon to have some amazing things going on. Anyway, the magic of TV. But I was saying earlier, my background in the music industry, and I have lived the evolution of how music is consumed. And for those that remember, we won't go as far back as cassettes, but we'll talk about CDs for a second, is you would anticipate and look forward to a new album. An artist would announce an album that's coming out on this date. Normally it would be up to a few months beforehand, Yep. And singles would come out. You'd buy the single CDs, and there'd be 2 or 3 singles, and then an album would drop. You'd go out day one, you'd buy the album, and you'd continue to pick it up. The CD would go in your car, in your Discman, wherever it goes, and you would listen to that for pretty much the next sort of 12 months.
I feel like there'd be a lot of people on this stream that wouldn't know what a Discman is.
There you go. Okay. It's this thing you used to put a compact disc into. and basically, and you consume an album or a record, you consume an album over a body of work over a period of time.
Yep.
In this day and age, music isn't consumed the same way. It's on demand based on whether it's streaming or download, but predominantly streaming. It's on demand. So an artist could release a new album at 11 o'clock tonight.
Yep.
And it will just get hammered for the next 24, 48 hours. It'll do 50 million streams. People who like that artist will just listen to it over and over. It'll playlist, all that sort of stuff. And what's crazy is 48 hours later, people will be on the band's social media saying, when's your next album coming out? When's a new album coming out?
Yep.
When's the next album coming out? To me, we are seeing the evolution of cards, and it's part of the whole broader collectibles thing, where consumption is happening again. That fast and furious is probably the way to describe it, where because the demand is so high and the participation rate is so high, it just creates this huge hype, and the huge hype creates the fear, and that fear of missing out. And as a result, people go very hard, very fast, and it just adds fuel to itself. Basically, it's like a perpetual fire that just keeps going and just keeps going. So, and that's the thing where Select and the manufacturers or the publishers need to be smart here is by they've got to keep giving it the fuel. They've got to keep giving it air. But they can't give it too much, but they can't give it too little, because if they wait too long between a release, that's when the market really deflates. And that's why, again, if you go back and check our previous episodes of Card Authority around the release of Brilliance, that released right at a time where the steam was really starting to come out of the market, and it just pushed it right back up again. Well, and they've still been on a high since then.
Yeah, well, I think, we got out of dominance.
Yeah.
We kind of had a gut feeling something else was coming. It passed that date.
That's right.
And we're like, oh, we're done. There might be a Christmas release or something.
Yeah.
And then bang.
Yeah.
And then Brilliance just took over everything for like.
And it feels like
weeks.
We haven't stopped since Brilliance now. It's almost kept going. Brilliance carried through, brought a whole bunch of new people in.
Yep.
They started backlogging old collections and old sets. And then the next thing you know, Footy Stars was upon us with a loaded release. And it's just one thing after the other. It just kept going.
So that makes a good point. All right. And this is completely off topic. The fact that Select kind of move up with the releases.
Yeah.
Does that need to be changed based on the quiet times then? So if we're going to go out on such a big high with Brilliance, say, at the end of last year, and then come into like a Footy Stars, does Footy Stars need to raise, or do they need to do something bigger
and taper
that off?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because traditionally, there has often been releases that have come out around Christmas time, but they've never been significant like a Brilliance was.
Yeah.
So it's almost like there was that filler type of release. Now, I don't know if the intention of Brilliance was to be a filler release, but it was the complete opposite.
Absolutely.
It was a super hyped excitement new release and viewed as a new release, not like the Christmas set, which, there's a one whack for Select there on the, that Christmas release a couple of years ago was horrific. And, yes, it's still in my master set. I still have to get it.
I think you can still buy it for $15.
But how do you compare a Christmas release to a Brilliance release?
Yep.
Sure, different times, but it makes no. It's absolute apples and oranges. So whether something then has to come that's better than Footy Stars but not as good as Brilliance after Brilliance, I don't know, because I think that is supposed to be that 2-month downtime and that 2-month, that summer period of dead zone sort of thing, which now has become the time that people gap fill old sets. You know what I mean?
But if the demand is there,
can they just keep rolling?
And the community is frothing for it.
Yeah.
Why have that gap fill? Like, I understand the market is shifting and changing.
Yeah.
And look, there's a couple of comments here.
It's a fine line between overcooking it, though.
And Glennie made a good comment there. Was Select releasing more series now each year as a limit to how many they should release? Could there be overkill? Well, as we saw in the 80s and 90s for NBA, you definitely can get to that point.
Yeah.
But I think if they're doing 4, 5, 6 releases a year, it's pretty hard to overkill.
That Junk Wax era, that sort of, 88 to 95 or 93, whatever it is, of Junk Wax era, the difference is it wasn't like there was so many different releases. It was so much of each release. They just mass produced it. And I think the concept of numbered cards and the serial numbered cards, and therefore demonstrating the finite aspect, it mitigates that at this point in time. So as Glenn says, it's exactly right. The way they turn it into junk wax again at this point, while still maintaining numbered cards, would be to overcook parallel releases, basically. That's where it becomes, where it goes over the top. So for example, I think so you got Footy Stars, we know Prestige is coming. Prestige is a hobby set parallel release of Footy Stars. It's not a true Series 2 release. It doesn't have signatures.
It's a 1.5.
That's why we've always called it a 1.5. Yeah. I would see it to be problematic if all of a sudden a 1.75 came out after the 1.5, which was another parallel set of the parallel set, which was of Series 1. To me, that's when it gets to a point where, okay, now you're starting to take the piss. But where I don't have an issue is unique products in really limited form, such as the Brilliance. And something that's really targeted or niche or specific, but also something that's not mass produced, where it has a large scale chase involved, where it only requires 2 or 3 cards, or potentially even 1 card for you as a collector.
Well, I've got an idea. Okay, and there was a thread that was on Good Vibes a couple of days ago. And this is, I have not even told it, this is just straight off the top of my head. Wouldn't this be a perfect opportunity in January if they did an AFLW release that was short print, perhaps digitally printed here like highlights, so you could turn it around quicker, gives them clear air in AFLW season, and actually has an opportunity to have a standalone release that you could maybe do signature redemptions or something like that, which then doesn't interfere or oversubscribe and overproduce the other releases later in the year.
I think that probably leads to the bigger conversation about AFLW and its inclusion within trading cards in general. It's obviously a raging debate. It's an ongoing debate. It's something that probably, to be honest, in terms of what I've seen in terms of online conversation, hit its peak this week with that big thread that was going on the Good Vibes, on the Really Good Vibes Facebook page. For anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, there's a Facebook page for an Australian-based trading community called Really Good Vibes. And then a lot of conversation takes place on that page. There was a discussion about, is Select doing enough with respect to the inclusion
All right, we're back there. Sorry, guys. I don't really know what happened there. Looks like we had a little bit of a freeze, but we should be coming back. Let's check there's some sound there. Yeah, we're back there. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, you were talking very much about the quality of AFLW and
sorry, I don't know how much of my conversation, or how much of that.
There was a thread on Really Good Vibes.
There's a big conversation about it. I'm a big supporter of the AFLW stuff. I think that over time, as the stature of AFLW continues to increase within the broader community and the sports community, it means the nature of its collectability, the merchandising, all that sort of stuff will increase, and we'll see a natural progression of inclusion of AFLW. Whether it's ready for its own standalone series and sets right now, and the demand exists for it to be a viable business thing and a viable business proposition, I don't really know. From a personal perspective, I used up the word. From a personal perspective, if there was to be an AFLW series, I would want it to be a high quality product, but still at a medium to low price point. So I would like to see a Series 2 quality AFL product, but that would sit maybe in the $4 to $5 price range per packet.
Yep.
There wouldn't be as many cards in the series or anything like that, but that would prompt me to buy it. Whereas, sort of as you suggested before, if there was a digital print release, like a highlights type product of AFLW, I wouldn't collect that.
No, I don't necessarily need highlights. I guess there is certain logistics that differ between AFL and AFLW.
Absolutely.
And the fact that AFLW is in a window of about 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
The teams are generally finalised a month before, knowing full well from that we've talked about numerous times, a Series 2 release is 7 or 8 months in the making.
Yeah.
You just couldn't do it to release in January back in April.
Yeah.
So the way that I see that it could shift is that I say the digitally printed one. There's no reason why you can't add things like signatures or relics or things like that, which could be redemption based.
Yeah, redemption based. Yeah.
But you could print it in December, package it up, get it here, sell it mid-January, and then you've got a product that's actually hitting the current players while the season's going on. Yeah. And then the Series 2 aspect of redemptions and things like that
can be done
later on.
Yeah.
So that's I think.
Yeah, Pete, and that's exactly right.
Yeah, great idea, Pete. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Pete. Like at the end of the day, it's a really hot market at the moment. So I suppose if you were going to have a shot at it, the next 12 months is probably the window where you'd want to actually do it.
They could, Oddy, they could release a smaller print run, but it's just about production. So for people that may or may not know, Select's cards and their releases, Footy Stars, all those sorts of things, to the best of my knowledge, are printed in China or somewhere over in Asia. There's obviously a manufacturing process, and then it's physically shipped over on a boat. So you're talking about a month production, a month on the boat. That's 2 months just there. That's before you do design, legals, sign off from the AFLPA, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why, as we've discussed plenty of times, it's 7 or 8 months in a building of a set to get released.
Yeah.
Whereas the highlight cards, and I use the term highlight not to devalue it at all, but that's decided on a Monday. Yeah. They go on sale on a Tuesday, and they're probably printing them on a Thursday or Friday to then send out the following week. So I don't know. I just think Pete's spot on. This is the way to, or the perfect time to try it with very little to low risk. And again, you can get around it by doing redemptions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just redemptions.
That's right.
Daisy Pearce signatures or Monique Conti or Katie Brennan or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
So Heritage came out. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Glenn's asked a really good question there.
We're sorry to say that. How much does Select watch and interact with the card communities online currently? I mean, Glenn, your guess is as good as ours, but
from what we can gather,
they
are seeing what people are saying and they are engaging with that feedback.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
It's fair to say, like, we're pretty confident that they watch Card Authority and
how can they not?
and take note of what's being said and the engagement and the discussions that are taking place here.
Yeah.
So we would like to think that this is a really great outlet for people to give those opinions in the same way that we would expect they're probably pretty closely in this day and age engaged in Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
They seem to be right on it with their own socials.
Well,
so it's probably fair to say they're monitoring what everyone else is saying and doing.
It feels like since Brilliance, there's been a
shift there.
A shift with their social media.
Agreed.
And maybe they've got a new marketing guy or social media guy, who knows. But there seems to be more posts and more replying. Like I saw Connor send them a message on Instagram the other day and they replied.
Yeah.
My dealings with that historically
Yeah.
where you didn't get replies on social media.
That's right.
So clearly there's someone that's doing more. I mean, Glenn, how much are they actually watching and interacting? I don't know. I presume they've all got burner accounts like we all do. I mean, Jakes.
So Asher, that's interesting. I didn't even realize, to be honest, Asher, I bought it.
Oh, yeah.
I put it in my cart. I was actually driving. I shouldn't have been doing it whilst I was driving. Sorry.
You pulled over, didn't you?
I pulled over to do it.
Yep.
Because I wasn't planning on it, and then I just did it. And I posted up my screenshot as a comment. And I looked at everyone else's screenshots, and everyone else's screenshot said application submitted. My screenshot just had $99 payments gone through. And I called him quickly. I called AJ, and I was like, mate, I think there's something wrong. I think I'm like straight up barred here. I can't even get it. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, my screenshot looks different to everyone else. Like, yeah, well done, idiot. You didn't actually read it. It said very clearly, click on this link and do the submission and put in the details. So I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm going to do it after the show tonight. I'm going to get my submission details in.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize. And there you go. That's good on him for looking into those sorts of things as well, and where people are engaging from.
So look, I think obviously, if they're not, they certainly should be taking more time and looking into those things. And Richo, you said, I'd like to engage more like Cherry Crew does. I think it's a bit different. Like Cherry is effectively a store like we are here at RGV, and we engage obviously in different platforms across our network. We've got the time and the ability to do that. The manufacturer or the publisher, in theory, that's probably not their role to be doing that. Like you don't see sort of Coca-Cola, standing at 7-Eleven asking for feedback on their drinks.
Yeah.
Can't sort of do that in the same way. But I think it's definitely, again, the responsibility or something that we should be doing as retailers or community members or break pages or whatever, to be having these conversations and getting the feedback that Select can look at a difference. Have you got an example of how Select made a change from consumer feedback?
I can give you a real example of it.
Shoot.
3 or 4 weeks ago, this very show right here, we managed to get one of the first boxes, we believe, or first cases, which had its first boxes of Footy Stars, and we pulled out the Diakos bang card.
Yep.
Members, included many of the people watching and engaging us right now, had very strong opinions about that card, and as a result, what we would like to believe, the feedback and the main feedback channel that they saw was coming through here and through the online network, was they have offered to replace those cards.
Settle down, killer.
No, but that is genuine feedback from the community.
Yeah.
If the community's not saying Diakos,
That's true.
the publisher would have no intent. So if you go back 15 years ago, I can't imagine that when the communities aren't online, and whether that's a Facebook community, a podcast, or whatever it is, and it's only physical, that 1 or 2 phone calls to the publisher is going to get a print run changed over. It's not going to happen. But the very broad and vocal voices and how people amplify it on social media, such as the commentary on here, is how that happens.
Yeah, well, I think probably even just to wind that back a little bit, one of the things that this has always fascinated me about cards is Select would not have known about the Diakos issue.
But that's what I mean.
No, and for no other reason, regardless of what the community was saying, when we pulled that card out, as we, obviously one of the first to get it, they didn't know.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
They didn't know.
There's no awareness.
But about the replacement, I think that's just something that they've been better about.
Absolutely. But if they don't know, they can't act upon it.
That's true.
And the knowledge becomes the power for them.
That's true.
And the knowledge becomes the power not just for them, but for the people as well, because it's up to us to notify them. Now, there's always going to be things that can't be changed and can't be replaced.
Yeah.
But unless they know about it, how can they make the decision in the first place?
No, that's true.
And that's why these type of things, such as the communities, are so important.
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree with that. But, I don't know whether or not single-handedly we were responsible for
I'm not saying single-handedly.
saying that they were going to replace the cards.
I'm trying to use it as an example of community engagement that creates awareness, which leads to change.
I was more concerned you were going to bring up the fact that you thought Jack Steele should have been the highlight every week, and then finally they gave it to you.
I was absolutely blindsided.
And you ordered so many.
Then we broke the printer.
You broke the printer.
Yeah, broke the printer.
I mean, that's a pretty good working example. Squid's just asked a question here, or made a statement. More engagement via social channels and a face of Select as a player ambassador, or kind of like Dipper was with Team. Well, I think they've kind of already trying to do that with Lynn Gilmartin. There was definitely a shift there from Brilliance. They're certainly engaging her more into do with the videos. Again, I don't know, but I presume she's going to do stuff for Prestige. Well,
spot on, Asher. And here's the thing: I reckon there's probably a heap. There's probably a heap of examples.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Of things that.
So let's just read it out. So for people listening, also the problems with Bruins cards. They did an excellent job at attending to these issues with quality. Yep, I'd agree, and I admit I've had some cards replaced myself that were factory damaged. Well, no, George. So George has said, but isn't the Dacos issue an obvious error required an immediate fix rather than a change? So historically,
they're not obligated to do it. Firstly, they're not obligated.
There's a difference between a damaged card, which due to consumer rules they need to amend, and then a card that has actually been printed incorrectly.
Yeah,
error cards have been around forever, and I mean we can go back and have a look over many series of all sorts of errors across all different sports and manufacturers.
Yeah.
So there's definitely no, immediate attention they had to do it. They could have just said, well, it was Diakos. It is what it is. He needs to go change his name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They certainly weren't compelled to do it. But I think the other good example is with what happened with the Richmond Premier's collector.
Yeah.
They had the wrong score on it.
Yeah.
So they set up a process that if you wanted to send it in, they'll replace it.
Voluntarily.
So, I think that's a good way that's sort of shown that they have done things.
The second half of what George has said there is interesting in immediate fit rather than a change on overall collector habits and trends. I would also probably argue that they are involved in the trend setting, I suppose, of certain things. And probably one of the unique aspects to AFL cards, which therefore is unique to Select because they're the primary manufacturer there, and the manufacturer of collectible AFL cards is numbering and how they have ingrained the importance of numbering within the AFL community, whereby the numbering of cards, both the print volume of the card, but also the low numbers and the jersey numbers, has such a more significant level of importance than it does across other international sports.
Yeah.
So whereby you'd be very hard pressed in AFL to find a card that is numbered to 199 of John Smith that's more valuable than a card numbered to 50 of John Smith. Whereas in NBA, there could be the card number to 199 of a Zion, depending on the variation, could be worth 20 times the amount of a Zion number to 25. Like it's very different. And I would say that they've probably created that culture domestically within AFL cards. So, and that's something they've done for a very long time and continue to do. And that's why I see one of their key focuses is really on numbering, and they nail it. They absolutely nail it.
Yeah, and that's what makes it unique.
Yeah.
And I think also just to add to George's point too, like if you do any sort of NBA purchasing, I mean, the quality of their cards are horrendous, but I'm trying to think whether it's Hoops or Mosaic or what are the ones last year. They didn't even print the bloke's name. Like it was a white panel where the name should be. And it clearly just
missed it.
I mean, are they replacing those cards?
Panini
Panini would never do that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's it. And that's the thing, like all companies get the clip for quality control.
Yep.
But again, Select probably demonstrated the quality control stuff with the highlights.
Let's just stress, there is a difference between quality control on manufacturing and production issues and a quality control on design errors.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
So, is there never going to be a mistake? No. Are they always going to replace it like Dacos? Probably not. But they certainly are doing the right thing. That's all right. So that then brings us a little bit closer to where we are now. Heritage was released last week. We'll get to all the Collector Club questions shortly, Richo. So Heritage was released this week.
Yeah.
It's a 2011 repack product. Just want to explain to the guys on the stream that aren't aware of it, what was the original product?
Okay, so in 2011, a special product was released. It was outside the norms of normal. It was outside of normal series. It was a unique premium product that was released. And Select has often done this over the years, where they have an entire series that can only be purchased as a single item.
And it was a book, wasn't it?
So you effectively got a folder which contained 24 cards, 12 signatures, 12 action cards, and all the cards would be the same number, and you could only buy it as the set. And from memory, it was $1,999.
Yep.
Obviously a very unique piece, but also a piece that it has a price barrier to it, because at $2,000, and especially 10 years ago, so it's a lot of money and not many people can afford it. As a result of that, not that the uptake wasn't huge on it.
How many were there?
So 100 of the signature sets.
Yep.
And then you could also then buy the non-sig sets. There was 400 separated out from from the first 100, right?
So there's only 100 of these books you could buy.
That's right. So in theory, there was only 100 of each signature card produced, and there was 100 of the full set sold, right?
Yep.
They obviously didn't all get sold. They then, at a point, I think last year, got taken off the market. They'd always been available. They were taken off the market, and those cards have effectively been repackaged.
Yep.
Now, in the context of a collector, this is what's taken place here is absolutely critically important to a lot of people's collections, because, like me,
so team set collectors.
Yeah, team set collectors, and master set collectors, but more so team set collectors, because the whole problem has been that when someone acquires a full unique set of cards, all with the same number, very rarely are they ever actually going to break that down. So as a result, as a team master set collector, those become typically the hardest cards to get. So the other examples, like there was a Select Scanlan's collaboration release.
Oh yeah.
I think it was 03 or 06. I can't exactly remember. They were like half-size cards or 2/3 size, like miniature cards.
Right.
And the same thing, they were only sold as a whole set. So the ability to get just your one or two from your team is very difficult. So Heritage what it's done is presented the opportunity for people to actually get cards as team collectors that they haven't been able to fill. Now, a lot of people know I'm a team master set collector. I'm very close to the St Kilda master set. I'm at 96%, not many to go. Up until a couple of days ago, one of the cards, which I have not been able to get over the last 3 years for my master set, is the 2011 Carl Ditterich Heritage card.
Right.
So had Select not done what they've done,
I've been chasing them out.
That's right. Had they not done this, I would still potentially be waiting another decade for someone to break up a full set and to luckily come across it, if ever. So for me, what that actually does is instill the mantra that I think Select is really pushing at the moment. And I know you and I have discussed this a few times, and contrary to what people may see on the surface and how things are perceived and whatever, from what we can tell, everything they're doing with their releases, the repackage, the way they're dispersing the product online, like how they did it with Brilliance, setting up the club, all these sorts of things, it all ultimately leads to the mantra that they are trying to get the product opened and into the hands of collectors.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, it's going to make its way through resellers, flippers, bot users, everything else. That will always happen regardless. But I really, truly believe over the last 12 months, they've taken really, really significant steps, which to me, without them saying it, absolutely indicate their actual intent, albeit they're a business and they're trying to make money. The intent is to get the product out and opened so it can get into the hands of collectors and not tied up in storage, basically.
So I agree with you, and I think that makes sense, but there's a huge a sound from the crowd that would say it's not that, it's Select just doing a cash grab. So do you think that is that just a perception thing?
Well, I think the reality is
they're a business.
Well, forget that. That aside, a cash grab can only be a cash grab if someone's giving the cash. You're not going to hand over the cash for something you don't want.
That's true. No one's forcing them to buy.
No one's forcing anyone to buy anything.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
I didn't have to buy into the Collectors Club. I was on the fence about the Collectors Club. And then the fear just hit me and I thought, well, you know what? There's rationale here. We'll talk about it later in the show.
Yeah.
But no one forced me to buy Footy Stars. After I spent a fortune last year on Footy Stars, I said to myself, why am I spending all this money on Series 1? Then I saw the previews. I saw the checklist. I got excited.
Yep.
I smashed Series 1.
Yep.
It's like I'm going to smash Prestige. And at the end of the day, if they're releasing the quality product that we want as collectors, that we think have investment value, that we think will retain value, that we enjoy opening, we engage, it provides us entertainment. For people like me, it provides me something to do with my children. I'll keep buying it, and no one's forcing me to. So cash grab or not, they're a business. They're not here just to hand out things to people so everyone can go, yay, I've got what I wanted. Unfortunately, the world does not work like that. As much as some people may want to believe that's the case, the world doesn't work like that, especially when we live in a capitalist society. We want these companies to succeed because if they don't, we don't have the enjoyment, we don't have the communities, we don't have a podcast, we don't have all these people to talk to.
You're speaking way too much sense.
That's the reality. That's the reality of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Stevens just asked a question there. If you're a master set collector, surely you would want the common and the SIG to have the same number. I mean, it'd be nice, I guess.
Yeah, and I would say, Stephen, like the master set collectors that were around in 2011, they're probably mostly the people that bought that product and bought the full set, which is exactly the reason why it's so difficult to find them, because those people will never break those sets up. So again, it just lends to the notion that the only way people such as myself and the many other team set collectors were ever going to get those cards was if it was reformatted in a way like this.
Well, and I think I hope he won't mind me saying this. I'm sure he won't. But Martin Davis, who arguably has the best signature collection of Richmond and West Coast specifically. But yeah, one of the best collectors. I think I'm sure it was him, explained to me that he effectively went in with a group of people. They bought the album, and then they all got the teams they wanted, and that was how they got their signatures from those original sets.
Exactly.
So he would obviously have matching numbers for his Richmond ones, I'd say, for the set.
Yeah.
That's right. Only matching to 100 Gribbler. That's right. But I mean, the reality is that those matching numbers you can try to upgrade to later on.
Yeah.
But just having that in your master set is more important.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Richo's saying he did an album share as well. Yeah, that's right. And it makes sense. And I mean, if you bought number 100.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's sick.
That's sick. So Richo, was it a situation where you could choose the number that you wanted, or how did it work? Because we'd love to find out about that now if we could.
Yeah.
It's something a lot of people have been asking. We haven't been able to get a proper answer on it yet.
Yeah. So look, Heritage obviously came out. We broke, I think we opened, 20 boxes here in 2 days?
20 boxes in 2 days.
Yep. Is this an undervalued series? Like the fact that we know that there's effectively 100 signature cards, we know about 40 or 43. I think there's 57 sets or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. But let's call it 50, just a round number. These cards are effectively numbered to 50 because the ones in the albums are not getting
although they say 100.
Yeah.
In theory, in this release, yes, they're numbered to 50. Yeah.
So is there a case that these are heavily undervalued?
Well, it depends. It's, cards are a really funny thing because that then brings it back to the notion of supremacy. How are lower produced cards of higher quality from the most premium product of all time still selling for 1/3 of the price as a not as good card from a Series 2 product of the same year or the next year?
Right, okay.
So there just seems to be so many factors in people's mindset. And to me, this is another product which will ultimately stand the test of time, like a supremacy, where it will actually continue to go up over time as people realize the rarity. Because what's not happening with these things is people get caught in the moment of, as you like to say, the shiny new thing at a given point in time. And then they forget for a period, but then they go back. And that's what then puts price pressure on those previous releases. And I think this is probably one of those ones that once it's all gone, it'll start to have a bit of pressure applied to it because you've got to see signatures. That's one of the really big motivating factors here.
And they're a good looking card.
Like
there's some signature cards and then there's signature cards. These are legitimately great penmanship on a really good looking card. I think that. Sorry, there's lots of questions coming through there. I genuinely think that a lot of those cards, the fact that some of those people are deceased, these are undervalued in my opinion. Like some of the prices I've seen floating around for a card that's effectively numbered 40 or 50, these are undervalued. Yeah, absolutely undervalued.
Can you bring up Chris Brown's comment?
Yeah, of course.
So that's a good one from Breezy.
Older players never seem to command the prices that modern day players, unless it's an absolute superstar.
So two things. Never's probably a bit too strong there, Breezy, but I will use the word often and historically. But I think that's changing.
Well, look at Brilliant.
I think that's changing. I think things like Brilliance and Supremacy is what's changing that, because what's been going on is the speculation. People are going hard at modern players where they're speculating that they become Hall of Famers and legends of the future, whilst not thinking about the people of the past.
They're already there.
That's right. And what's funny that happened in NBA over the last few years is all the hype has been about the rookie cards and the rookie and people paying now the price of future success. Whereas in the last 6 months, that's been flipped on its head, and the true value of the existing and the real superstars and the Hall of Famers has started to rise at a much, much bigger and faster rate. And that's where you see things like rookie, Jordan and LeBron rookie cards all of a sudden going from low thousands and low tens of thousands into hundreds of thousands and cracking the million barrier as well.
Absolutely.
So I think I think as the hype of the now and the future starts to wear off with people, that's where we start to see the ongoing increases.
So do you think that, Kane asked a good question about whether or not there are any other John Kennedy Senior certified signature products?
Are there any other ones?
Yeah.
Not that
Can you think of any other cards?
No, I'm not aware. No, there is no other John Kennedy Senior. Those 2011 Heritage cards are effectively the last ever authentically signed cards by John Kennedy Senior.
Yeah.
The only ones.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a Hawks collector, so I don't really know, but
yeah. All right, are we back there? Sorry, looks like we lost a bit of internet there for a second.
We're back.
We're back?
We're back.
All right. To definitely credit to the person that said Elsa there, Daniel. That was good. Yeah, the internet.
Sorry, I don't know where that cut off, but basically we were just talking about Lou Richards and the comparison that a Lou Richards signature versus Scott Pendlebury captain signature. Will Scott Pendlebury end up, at the same status as Lou Richards? Who knows? But Lou Richards ain't signing any more SIGs moving forward on any cards. I can tell you that much.
That's right.
And then obviously we were just talking about the Legends Hall of Fame signatures and that subset. Yeah. And they are the ultimate one of the, they're right up there with the captain signature subset.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, look, obviously I'm very conscious of the internet, so we'll push on. But look, this is obviously a conversation we can talk about some of the values of the older cards later on.
Yeah.
Let's have a chat about what everyone wants to talk about is obviously the Select Collectors Club. They released that officially this afternoon or this evening at 5 o'clock to give everyone a little bit of a snapshot for people that haven't seen or heard about it. Effectively, it is a priority access club where you pay a fee of $99. If you are then approved, you will have access to at least one box of every future release for the next 12 months. So at this stage, it looks like Prestige, which they've announced, Series 2, which who knows what that is, and any premium release that they do at the end of the year, which I guess we probably suspect is Supremacy.
Yeah.
So for $99, you get access to the club, you get a folder, a club folder, you get a hat, and that's it. So what is your general feeling of this collector club? We've obviously debated it at length today, James. Obviously, the commentary has been very fierce all over the groups the last couple of days.
Should we start with the negative and move into the positive?
Shoot, go.
I wear a hat every day.
Yep.
It's fair to say I'm not going to be wearing a Select hat.
Even if it's the best looking hat you've ever seen?
It's not an incentive for me.
Okay.
The hat is not an incentive for me.
Yep.
Folder, good one. I like that.
Yep.
In saying that, plenty of people have actually commented and messaged that one of the things they're actually looking forward to is the hat. But to me, that is not an incentive for something like this. The folder, cool. We're getting 20, 25 bucks value back out of your $99.
Yep.
So let's break up the rest of it. So what do we got there? 65 bucks you're paying for something for 12 months with no guarantees that you're getting anything else given to you as such for free. But who knows? Maybe they give you something at some point, merchandise, a packet of cards, whatever it may be. So what are you paying your $65 for? You're paying $65 for the right to have access to purchase something and to be guaranteed access to something.
Yep.
2 years ago, you'd probably be lucky to get 5 people to sign up to it.
Yep.
Because it really has no benefit.
You were able to buy whatever you want whenever you wanted.
Fast forward to 2021.
Yep.
And I was on the fence until I really thought rationally about it. It's pretty good. Like, you're paying 65 bucks to guarantee yourself a box of Prestige, a box of Series 2, and a box of Supremacy.
Yep.
Now, let's be realistic about it. If the price of Supremacy is, let's say, $500 like it was last time, and someone came to me and said, I can guarantee you X amount of boxes of Supremacy.
Well, just one box.
One box of Supremacy, but you pay an extra $65 for it. I would say, how many can I actually get? I'll take as many as I can possibly get.
Yep.
We all know that the reality is, with what's going on in this day and age, that at the point of a product being sold out on the publisher's website, on the Select website in this case, it will already be on the secondary market, not just listed, but selling at double the price easily. So it begs the question of, well, if you're someone that's prepared to go on eBay and pay $750 or $1,000 for a $500 box, then why wouldn't you just save yourself the hassle and pay the 60, get it for 65 bucks now and have it locked in? And that's for one series. Let's put things aside and say, okay, maybe Supremacy doesn't come out this year. So the true benefit you're getting, as per what they said in that post that they put up, or the details they put up, that Prestige and Series 2, well, same thing. We're breakers. We know how much we've been paying to get boxes of dominance off the secondary market. And it's a lot more than a $65 premium on top of the RRP, I can tell you that. So I was on the fence. I've thought rationally about it. I don't like the hat. I think the idea of a loyalty club is really good. I think the access to product in advance and guaranteed access to product is really good. How they police it and how they limit it in terms of that quantity and how that plays out in the real world is yet to be seen. But I would like the access.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you from a collector point of view. And again, I think this is as you were just saying before, another perfect example of why, Select are doing the right things to get people on board and that product in the hands of collectors. This is another example where they are looking to take a big chunk of the allocation, get it directly into a qualified collector's hands, so that it's not going on eBay straight away and doubling its price.
Yeah.
Is it going to run smoothly? Only time will tell. Is it going to be taken advantage of? Only time will tell. But I think the fact that it's only a 3-day window that you can register for, and by the sounds of it, they are going to vet it from all the T's and C's. I mean, I don't see it as a cash grab. I see it as, it's not that it's a cash grab. It's not as though they're just taking 100K and putting it in their pocket. They are facilitating you getting something cheaper than you'd be buying it on the secondary market.
Yeah, and look, I think, some of the commentary I've read, which I think is spot on, is, well, for every person that signs up and then gets one of those boxes, it just takes away from the inventory that those real professional flippers that are using the box and the scripts can actually acquire. Because if the inventory is not there to buy, it stops it from being pumped on that secondary market. And you can still, even if you're accepted, which who knows? Who knows? Yeah, you will still be able to go on the public sale and try to buy. And try to buy
it's not as though it's one or the other. Yeah, it's an addition.
Yeah, and I suppose the biggest my thing here is it's now all about what is that vetting process.
Well, and Danny's just said, if I get knocked back, I'm going to write. Well, I mean, I've got no idea what the process is. But we
would all feel the same.
Of course. Yeah. But I mean, if you've bought product off Select previously, you're a real person with a real address. I can't see, unless you're doing fraudulent activities or you've set up multiple accounts and tried to game the system, why you would be knocked back.
Yeah.
I don't think it's about, I've seen some comments today about, whether you're nice or whether you're, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's going to be about personalities.
Yeah,
I think it's more about people taking advantage of it and trying to get more than one account. That would be my guess. And that actually answers the question, Kate, that's on the screen. Daniel.
We'll do Stephen's comment afterwards.
Anything that can get me a guaranteed spot of supremacy, I will buy into.
And I think that's the general sentiment. And
absolutely.
That's the big selling point here.
Yeah.
And I suppose that the interesting thing
I'll just say to the regular, we're not saying that there is supremacy.
No.
We don't know, but all the things that we've heard from everyone in the community.
Everyone's speculation is that there is.
And they did say a year ago that it was going to come back.
Well, that's right. And that's the thing. Like, a Select employee was saying for a long period of time that it's coming out in 2021. It's coming out in 2021. I think someone just mentioned before in the comments, actually, that it had been said recently still that it is coming out this year. So we're going to speculate and assume that it is coming out. And that's exactly what you've said there, Daniel. I think anyone who was around over the last 2 years would feel the exact same. And I think it's probably a bit of a shame that they can't, if supremacy is coming out, it's obviously so far down the pipeline, it's not something that can be announced now. No. So it's if they publish that supremacy next to where it said prestige, and I think it said series 2.
Series 2,
and what else? What was the other wording? It had something about other premium releases or whatever.
Premium release,
if premium release was replaced with the word supremacy, they've probably got 3,000 applications sitting there.
Boom. That's right.
Like instant, snap, thousands of applications. The air of ambiguity means people not failing capacity to properly acknowledge the actual value add there is with something like this.
Yep, I agree.
It's just, again, take away all the other releases. $99 to guarantee a box of supremacy, $99 above retail. Thank you, I'll take it.
Well, it's not even that, because you're talking about
just give me access to the product.
And look, it's already we like to buy boxes. We like to open them.
Yeah.
I understand there are some people out there that, for whatever reason, don't want to buy a box, can't afford to buy a box, would prefer to buy singles. Fantastic. You don't need to go and buy the membership.
Courses for courses, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But for the way the community is changing and people want to, and look, as Asher just said, $99 to relieve my anxiety before each release. Fantastic. If you're in the position that you could afford that, that absolutely, and Danny's just saying the same thing about Brilliance.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to make sure they got it. So if that's going to help you get it, fantastic.
And that's the thing, and let's be realistic about it. Say I get my club membership, well, I better select. If you're watching, please look after your boy. He's a big collector. No, don't worry about that guy. Over here. But my intent would be, I'll take advantage of both. I'll be so happy that I get my guaranteed one, but it's not going to stop me to go for my other one that I'm entitled to do as well. Cool. But what it does do is when I miss out on that one, I'm entitled to a general on sale because one, there's only half the product available because it's gone to the members.
Yep.
And two, I'm fighting 1,000 boxes where 20,000 people are trying to buy them. At least that I still know that come that release day, I'm getting the one that I was guaranteed I was always getting.
Absolutely.
And that, to me, that is the defined and the perceived and defined value of, what's it called? The SCC, Select Cricket Club.
I've thought that a few times. Select Collector Club. So look, overall, everyone's going to make the decision for themselves. You've got a few days to register.
You can use your stars. That's what's the other cool thing that I thought,
Yeah, that's right. So if you do have stars you have bought from previous products, cash your stars in, use them.
And it costs you nothing then.
Or depends what you've bought in the past.
But effectively, if they weren't giving you the stars, which they don't have to do, they only introduced those like 18 months ago.
Yep.
So if you happen to have been a customer that's purchased a bunch of stuff in the past, $1,000 worth of goods or $999 worth of goods, well, you're effectively getting the membership for free.
No, you're getting like $10.
Or is it $10,000?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so whatever it is, but whatever that is, it's a value back. It's a value add back.
Yeah.
Because you're using your frequent flyer points to re-sign up to your frequent flyer program.
Yeah.
In context. So
it's for us, it seems like a no-brainer, but look, it's not for everyone. And again, we don't work for Select. We're not pushing it, but I know how tense it is on release day. You know how tense it is release day. It would be nice to know that whatever the release is for the next 12 months, I know I've got a box.
Yeah.
So make the choices for yourself, get involved, and hopefully we can all crack boxes when you're
between now and then, we'll be oiling the bots. We've got all these bots out the back, and we just oil them up.
Settle bots.
Get them all ready.
All right. Well, look. Obviously, we've been going for almost an hour and a half as per usual.
Wow.
But I mean, what everyone's waiting for, and I know everyone's going to jump off watching the footy now straight away. Unicorn hunting. Well, the reason we've been around for a couple of weeks is because I've been very hard at work with a lasso, with like a spear, trying to track down. A couple of weeks ago, Drew put out the challenge for a Caleb Sarong 2019 draft pick card. So you buy the draft pick cards, the sets, super short print. They're only about 50 or 60 of them. There's not a lot. Well, it actually happened today. I was doing some wheeling and dealing with somebody, and in conversation, they said to me, I've got a set of 2019 draft pick cards. So after a few backwards and forwards, a few shufflings, I have landed the Caleb Sarong for Drew.
Bang, AJ1.
Bang.
Always delivering the unicorns.
So I will have it in my hand in a couple of days. We will present it on the show next week. I've already reached out to Drew. He was ecstatic. So very exciting. Always good to land some unicorns for you guys, the punters. Thank you. We have got a unicorn for this week, which is going to be a little bit tougher, but we do have one. But if you've got a unicorn that you want to submit, get on to cardauthority.com.au. Obviously, we have all our previous shows, podcasts, videos, Jenks's bio, and you can have a look and submit a unicorn that you're looking for. But this week's unicorn, Jenks, it's a tough one.
Is it?
It's a tough one. It's from 2017, Future Force, a Sam Walsh Red.
Wow. Okay, that's a big card.
Yep.
That is one of my, as you know personally, that's one of my favorite series of all time. And one of the rarest.
They're numbered to
40.
Yeah. So Sean has reached out. It's the last Sam Walsh card he needs for his player set.
Yeah.
So if you've got a 2017 red Future Force Sam Walsh numbered to 40, get in touch with either me or Jenks. We will see if we can get a deal done. We're not paying for it. We're not paying for it.
No, we are not.
But
we'll assist.
We'll assist.
We'll help broker.
Yep.
We may even contribute some cards if there's a trade
if that's
involved.
needed. So reach out if you know anyone that's got those. Obviously, it's from a few years ago. Give us a yell, and we will see if we can help Sean complete his Sam Walsh set. But wow, it's so good landing a unicorn. So good.
The hunt. The unicorn hunting has become a real thing now.
I know.
As well. It's quite amazing. I don't know how you've developed this, mate.
It happens. Hard work.
Outstanding night. Outstanding job tonight.
Thank
AJ.
you. Thank you.
You're back in full flight, my friend.
Well, we're here to for the people. But look, thank you to everyone for viewing the show. I know it wasn't ideal that we clashed with the footy. We will go back to our midweek slot next week. As always, stay tuned to Card Authority on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. It's everywhere. We'll be back next week. Jenks, amazing as always.
Signing out.
Good night. Wrong mouse. All right. See you guys.
See
Cheers.
you guys.